Apply now at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places. What you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Lyric's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Lyric's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. From budget to the best. From desks to filing cabinets. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Lyric's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to want to go anywhere else. Lyric's Warehouse Outlet at 23 Mac Oil Avenue in Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Lyric's, continuing the tradition.
The Justin Skinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you live here on ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We are off and rolling here on a Monday, 937-518-1410. Again, the number to call, or you can text to jump in on the convo as mentioned. Let's do this. Again, a lot to get into. I'm excited for today's show because I'm excited for Reds baseball. It's the first time I've been excited about Reds baseball in a long time. And I say that knowing that I've probably been more optimistic than some Reds fans, frustrated with the lack of urgency and aggressiveness made from the Reds front office. But I'm having a hard time right now as we kind of sit back. I'm having a hard time right now sitting back and saying, hey, you know what, that Reds front office, they did a poor job this offseason. I think they've done one hell of a job this offseason. I think that they've done exactly what they needed to this offseason. I'm pretty excited about what's happening right now after what happened yesterday. I think everybody knows the Cincinnati Reds made a splash in free agency, not a trade, but in free agency, going after one of the top free agents in all of baseball, going after one of the top power hitters in baseball, who hit 49 home runs last year. The Cincinnati Reds found a way to reunite with Eugenio Suarez. Eugenio Suarez, 49 home runs last season, would by far and away be the home run leader in Cincinnati based on those numbers last year. The crazy thing about it is even if Eugenio Suarez just dipped his numbers down to 40 home runs this upcoming season, that would still be a mass overhaul in production when it comes to power numbers for the Reds, something that they desperately needed. We were bummed. We wanted the Reds to go get Kyle Schwarber. I did too. I thought it was kind of silly. Excuse me. I thought it was kind of silly of the Reds to aggressively pursue Kyle Schwarber the way that they did, knowing that they probably couldn't financially swim in those waters. I would have respected the Reds more had they made Eugenio Suarez more of a priority to start the offseason, land him. That would have told everybody, hey, you know what? We're not even attempting to get Kyle Schwarber. I thought that by swinging for Kyle Schwarber and missing, that was a major loss for the Reds, not just because they didn't get him, but because it was one of those where, man, you were willing to try to get him, but you weren't willing to go all out to get him. And that's where I felt disappointed in the Reds and their attempt and their push to go get a Kyle Schwarber. Had they made this move at the very beginning of the offseason or around the time that they were attempting to get Kyle Schwarber, I think Reds fans would have been elated with this. I think that they're excited about it now, don't get me wrong. But I do think that this makes up for all of the up and downs that we felt that this Reds team was taking us through this offseason. I mean, this offseason, to be fair, it's the exact, up and down roller coaster vibe that they took us on last year throughout the regular season. I joked, especially when I was sitting down with the guys at Reds Fest, whether it was Phil Castellini, whether it was Emilio Pagan, whether it was Hunter Green or Andrew Abbott, I shared with all of them, hey, I was honest with them. I said, multiple times last year, I gave up on you guys. Multiple times last year, I said, that's it. They're out of it. On to next season. And then the next thing you know, you're right back in it. And I feel like that's what they did to us this offseason. The offseason started with, I thought Nick Claw was kind of tempering our expectations a bit by coming out and saying, hey, we're going to keep payroll about the same as what it was last year. Well, that didn't really make a lot of Reds fans excited because it wasn't very much to begin with. And by the time you added the arbitration raises into the mix, that only left the Reds with, based on what Nick Cross said, that would put them in about the $20 million range to spend on free agents to better this roster. And we knew how much they needed to attack the bullpen, and we also knew how much they needed to go and address the issues with the inability to hit the long ball. But we also kind of knew that they were probably not going to be able to do both with a limited budget. So when the offseason technically started with going to get Emilio Pagan to return, I thought he was as good as gone. I thought he was going to be a Boston Red Sox pitcher. I thought he was going to be as good as gone as I mentioned. So I was excited that the Reds were able to get Emilio Pagan back, but I was also kind of bummed because that's a lot of money for a reliever. That doesn't leave a whole lot for them to go after any big name free agents to help with, of course, run production and bolster this lineup. So I was kind of out from that point on because, again, $20 million to spend. You did a 2-year, $20 million deal for Emilio Pagan. 10 of that 20 was going to a bullpen arm. But to their credit, they kept adding names. They kept on going. And I think that's what has been so impressive about what the Mets have been able to do. They went out and they, of course, signed Pierce Johnson on a 1-year, $6 million contract. All right, they were able to go get other names too. They were able to go get other names to add to that bullpen. Again, they got lefties in the mix as well. Ferguson, who they added to the bullpen. I mean, they added lefties, they added righties, they veteran, experienced guys. These aren't guys that are coming in that you're hoping take their game to the next level. You know what you have. This is a veteran-filled bullpen now with an experienced rotation, a top rotation in baseball, and now you go get the second best power hitter in free agency, and you almost had the number one power bat in free agency in Kyle Schwarber. I think that this is a massive win for the Reds because I didn't think it was possible to be able to address the pitching and the lineup deficiencies, and they did it. This was about as good as a Reds fan. This was about as good of an offseason as you can hope for as a Reds fan. I'm never going to expect them to go after the biggest name in free agency. I'll never expect them to be in the mix to go get, you know what I mean, like to go get a Juan Soto. I'll never expect them to do that. I'll never expect them to be in the mix to go get, you know what I mean, like any of those. Shohei Ohtani, none of those. I'll never expect that. I do expect them to be in the ballpark of the Kyle Schwarbers or the Eugenio Suarez's of the world. Those guys make just as much of an impact. They're not. They don't have the star power that some of the bigger superstars have. But I don't care about superstardom. I don't care about any of that. I care about production. And Eugenio Suarez with his 49 home runs a year ago, what would that have meant to a team that won just north of 80 games last year that barely snuck into the playoffs? They would have secured a playoff spot probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month in advance with just one bat like that. And now you look ahead to this upcoming season. You look at the fact that this is a top 5 rotation in baseball. It's a top 10 bullpen in baseball. And is this lineup top 10 at all? No, it is not. But it doesn't have to be. I've made this comparison to the Bengals for a while. The Bengals offense is so dynamic and so electric. When you look at Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, right? That offense, when they're healthy, they're so dang good that we're sitting here talking about how bad that defense is as if, man, they have so many holes they have to address. That's the thing about the Bengals. As long as Joe, Jamar, and T are healthy, that Bengals defense doesn't have to be elite. It doesn't have to be the Eagles defense or the Browns defense or the 49ers or the Houston Texans defense. It just has to be average. What it can't be is worse in the league like it's been the last 2 years. If that Bengals defense just improves to average, the Bengals are a 10 to 13 win team in that range. The Bengals are AFC North champions. By the way, if that defense improves to just middle of the pack this upcoming season, they'll be division champions. They'll win the North. They'll be back in the playoffs. They'll be anywhere between 10 to 13 wins next season. It'll be a completely different vibe. That's how I look at the Reds when it comes to this lineup. Their pitching now is so good that they don't need an elite lineup. I want one, don't get me wrong, just like you want an elite defense. But I look at this lineup, and I'm like, this team still won north of 80 games last year, still made the playoffs, even with all their offensive deficiencies, and with the bullpen that had cracks in it. Now you have a rotation that is elite, and now you have an experienced top 10 bullpen, And now you have a power hitter that hit 49 home runs a year ago. What's he going to do in a ballpark like Great American Ballpark? Because he's a different power hitter than what he was even when he was with the Reds the last time. I think, 189 runs? 189 home runs is what he hit in the 6 years combined in his first stint with the Reds. He hit 49 alone just last year. So I think that Suarez is a big-time addition because if you also count on the fact that I expect a big bounce back year from McClain. I think he rebounds. All right. I think that we get a big bounce back year from McClain. I think Suarez, I think Ellie De La Cruz, healthy. I think you're going to see him. By the way, even banged up last year, still hit 25 home runs added to, of course, what Suarez does. Now that's a lot more impactful. But when you're looking at Ellie to carry the team home run wise, that's a problem. He's not going to have to carry the team power wise. That's the other impact of having Suarez, who's going to be in this lineup hitting behind him. I think that's phenomenal for this team. You know, and I love the fact that Sal Stewart only played in September, but was on pace for a 40 home run season. You get a 40 home run season, a 35 to 40 home run season from him, a 40 plus home run season, maybe a 50 home run season from Suarez, and a 25 to 30 from Ellie, and then maybe a 20 from Matt McClain. I mean, come on. This is a ginormous move for the Cincinnati Reds, and I give them all the credit in the world. For as much as you guys bury that front office, me included, don't get me wrong, but a lot of you won't give this team the time of day because all you're focused on is what the Reds don't do. I think now they've done enough that now the attention needs to be on what the Reds did do. And what they did do is they took this team and they addressed every one of their needs this offseason, and they didn't do it with bum players. They didn't do it with scrap pile guys either. I think Nick Krall killed it in this offseason. And I give the Castellinis credit. They wanted to stick, okay? They wanted to stick to about that same spending as last year. They're going to spend about 10 to 15 mil more than what they intended to. Everyone right away started panicking yesterday. Well, okay, you get Suarez. Who are you moving on from? Charlie Goldsmith, who covers the Reds, put in his reporting on this last night that the Reds do not plan on shaving any payroll to make this work, that this was all about adding an impact bat. That's what they did. And it's a fan favorite, reuniting with Eugenio Suarez. We'll see what ultimately happens. This is huge. This is huge. So I'm all for it. Chad Kitzer, what up, Chad? Chad says, it kills me how Lance McAllis, shout out to Lance, kills me how Lance McAllis has begged for the Reds to make a move to bring in a big hitter, but then criticized Gino's strikeout rate. Schwarber struck out more than Ellie and Gino last year. Look, these guys are more aggressive at the plate. They're not trying to put the bat on the ball to put the ball in play. They're basically home run or nothing guys. Ellie's, I'm sorry. It's going to be painful at times. We're going to talk about this when we come back. I'm glad you brought this up because I saw Lance talk about this on Twitter earlier, and I'm sure he addressed it on his show. When Ellie strikes out a lot, Suarez is going to strike out a lot as well. I can handle strikeouts, though, if your home run numbers, though, are beyond satisfactory, right? Ellie's problem was he was striking out a ton and wasn't knocking the ball to the ballpark and wasn't driving in runs at the clip that we expected him to. That's why those strikeouts became a little more glaring. I don't like strikeouts. I don't think that those are as big of a deal as what they used to be in the 2000s and 2010s. I think baseball has evolved and changed. You know, we look at shooting percentages of players in basketball. We talked about bad, shooting percentages for guys compared to guys in the 80s and 90s. 80s, 90s, 2000s, it was a half-court game. It was all about getting the ball inside and getting a lot more high percentage looks. Now, we're talking one of every 3 shots is from behind the three-point line. Of course, shooting percentages are going to be down across the board because you're taking more high-risk shots. You're taking more long-distance shots. The same thing in baseball. Of course, strikeouts are going to be through the roof because you're being way more aggressive at the plate than what you used to be. You're not trying to draw walks anymore. You're not just trying to slap a single on the right. It's about getting that ball to the ballpark, and that's what the name of the game is right now. We'll step away for a few moments. I love this Eugenio Suarez deal. I believe that the Reds are a true contender, not just to flirt with the wild card. I think they're good enough to win this division. Am I drinking a little bit too much Kool-Aid? 937-518-1410. How big of a deal is this Eugenio Suarez move? Are the Reds in position to contend for the NL Central? I've never, in the last year and a half, since we've started this whole thing, especially when you look at the addition of, not really addition, but we're going to get Francona to be the manager. I never once talked about them winning the division. This is the first time where I felt like, oh, yeah, they have the horses to go win this division. They're not going to be the favorites to do it. I think they're good enough to do it. No one in the division has as good a bullpen as the Reds and a rotation as the Reds. A couple teams have better lineups, but I think the Reds are one of the most well-rounded teams in the National League right now, outside, of course, the Dodgers. We won't put them in that category. Are they good enough to flirt with this division? We'll get to that when we come back. 937-518-1410. Text or call. We'll be right back.
The Justin Skinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Do you know what's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide? If you guessed Discover, you guessed right, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
February is Children's Dental Health Month, so make sure you make an appointment for your child to visit an Ohio Dental Association member dentist. ODA member dentists are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality dental care, are bound by the highest ethical standards, and have access to superior ongoing education and training. On your next visit, ask if your child's dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association and American Dental Association, so you know you're being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit ODA.org.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent are required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text AREA to 42424 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text AREA to 42424. That's AREA to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Most people in radio commercials talk really fast. But we made this one for RV owners. Progressive knows they like the slower pace of RV life, like this commercial. And they know Progressive will protect their RV at a fair price with discounts. Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio, powered by...
The future depends on teachers who are reinventing the classroom and starting their students on journeys that will change the course of history. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Staples has hot deals and low prices on everything for your business, like up to $125 off your print order. Ends April 18th. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is, fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
The Cincinnati Reds reunite with the former fan favorite, Eugenio Suarez, on a one-year deal with the second-year option for the year 2027. The ironic part about that is that's unfortunate because I don't think there's going to be a 2027 season. But all that matters is the 2026 run, and the Reds, I think, have positioned themselves in very good shape for that. So the last part of the show, when we were talking about Suarez, I think it was Chad Kinser who brought up Lance McAllister's take on this. Lance McAllister, not a big fan of the strikeout rates, but to Lance's credit, and shout out to Lance, by the way, Lance put out a tweet a little bit ago, earlier this afternoon, that was just talking about the reality of when you have, an impact hitter like an Eugenio Suarez who hits for power, it's going to come with a lot of home runs, but it's going to come with a lot of strikeouts as well. Here's some numbers that Lance threw out earlier today, that 7 MLB players hit at least 40 home runs in 2025. Those 7 hitters averaged about 170 strikeouts. 2 of those hitters had more than 200 strikeouts. So that's just kind of the nature of it. If he goes on to say, if you want power, you're going to have to learn to be more comfortable with strikeouts. And I think that's what we're going to see. I think that the Elly strikeouts are more of a concern than the Suarez strikeouts. Suarez is going to be striking out with the purpose of being aggressive, attempting to knock the ball to the ballpark. Elly's one of those where if he hits for power, that's great. I just need Elly to put the ball in play and get on base. Because when Elly gets on base, magical things happen. And when Elly gets on base, Suarez, who had over 100 RBIs last year, that's a massive thing, because now all of a sudden you're going to see Elly's production start to increase. And I've said this before, that the reason I felt for Elly De La Cruz is because we know Elly is the face of the franchise, and I don't think it's fair for Elly De La Cruz to be the face of the franchise. And I'm not necessarily saying that Eugenio Suarez is, because he's definitely not. It's still Elly. But when you're Elly De La Cruz, you felt like you had to do everything. You have to lead the team in steals. You have to lead the team in singles and extra base hits. You have to lead the team in home runs. You have to lead the team. You know what I mean? Like, you have to lead the team in everything. And that's fine if you have, been in the league 6-7 years and you're making, have a $750 million contract and you're Shohei Ohtani and you're guys like that, right? But even Shohei Ohtani, as dominant as he is, he doesn't have to be great. Shohei Ohtani is great because he doesn't have to be. And what I mean by that is he could be out for an entire year without pitching and they win a World Series. He can come back and hit at a superstar level. And if he goes on a month-long slump, it's okay because you have Freeman and you have Betts and you have so many other superstar guys around him. It's not that hard to be Shohei Ohtani because I don't think there's as much pressure on him to be great as there is Elly De La Cruz. Because when Shohei goes on these slumps, we don't notice it as much because, the Dodgers keep winning. When Elly goes on slumps, the Reds lose. And when the Reds lose, we point the finger at Elly. And we go and say, well, what's Elly doing during this losing streak? Oh, he's responsible for the losing streak, which always isn't necessarily true. Shohei Ohtani can go on a slump. He has so much talent around him that they keep winning. And we never once look at him and say, what's going on? And Shohei's great. I'm not really saying anything bad about him, but that's the point. I don't think there's as much pressure on him. It's easier to be great when you don't always have to be, if that makes sense. Elly always has to be. And I think that the addition of Suarez is going to take a lot of responsibility off of his plate because I don't think you're going to see Ellie De La Cruz pressing at the plate nearly as much as what we saw last year. When the Reds were bad offensively, and he's the superstar player that's known for his greatness offensively, it was like, we stink right now. We've been shut. Remember that they win 3 straight games where they were shut out? And Ellie, when he'd get up, it's like, I have to make a play. Strikeout. I have to swing for this ball out of the strike zone because I have to find a way to put this ball in play. Oh, and he lines out. It's frustrating. But now with Suarez hitting behind him and hopefully a bounce back year from McLean, right? Like in little things like that, I think that's going to go a long way where Ellie's not going to be pressing at the plate nearly as much. TJ Friedl, I love him as a leadoff hitter. Love TJ Friedl as a leadoff hitter. I think that's, I think there's going to be pressure taken off him as well, just because the weapons that he has behind him now. And just the addition of Suarez into that lineup is a massive game changer when it's all said and done. I mean, TJ Friedl to be the leadoff hitter. Sal Stewart, most likely, especially against right-handed hitters, probably going to be batting in that 2-hole spot with Ellie De La Cruz batting third and Suarez, the DH, batting fourth. And Noelvi Marte, I mean, he got hot offensively last year as well. If he's hitting fifth, Will Benson, Tyler Stevenson, McLean. If McLean, who is at the bottom of the order right now, bounces back to what we saw from that rookie and the start of last season, I mean, that's a huge bat to have in the bottom third of the order, and will probably move his way up the order. I just think that this lineup, just one addition, frees up so many other guys to not have to be as responsible for everything. And I think that that's what this does. It's not just the power numbers. It's what it does, the trickle down and the trickle up effect, if you will. I think this is a massive move when it's all said and done. Shaw says, cautiously optimistic. Schwarber struck out more times than Suarez. Let's be truthful. That's basically the same. The bigger issue for me is on-base percentage, and that's because the manager has put so much focus on getting on base and keeping the lineup moving. We shall see. Look, Shaw, you were super negative about what the Reds weren't doing, and then the Reds do something, and now you're, I don't know about that on-base percentage. What are you talking about? Strikeout numbers, not thrilled with them. But Lance McAllister laid out the numbers a little bit ago. 7 players hit 40 or more home runs last year. All of them had at least 180 or more strikeouts. 2 of them had 200 or more. That's the strikeouts are going to come with that. And Eugenio Suarez, I would like to see that on-base percentage be higher, yes. But I also think his on-base percentage, the reason is what it is because I think his role on teams recently that he's been on, his role has been when you step in that box, just get it out of the ballpark. And I think when you're so focused on knocking the ball to the ballpark, you're not going to get on base as much as what you would like them to. And to be honest, I don't really want Suarez on base. I want his ass standing at home plate, not after a strikeout, but after a home run. So I get what you're saying, but at the same time, the on-base percentage thing, he was brought here for the one thing that he does best, and that's knock the ball to the ballpark. Second best power hitter in free agency. The Reds got him. They spent above what they said they were going to spend this offseason. I'm all for it. But, Shaw, you can't be critical of the Reds for, well, they don't do anything. They don't do this. They don't do that. They finally make a move, and you're going to be cautiously optimistic because you're not a fan of the on-base percentage. Come on. This is a huge deal. It's a huge move, and I think the Reds are in position to compete for the NL Central when it's all said and done. Floyd, what up, Mr. Spoon? It's been a while, sir. Mr. Spoon says, one of the best moves the Reds have made in years. Suarez will help Ellie and finally give the Reds that big bat that they have been missing. It's not just providing the big bat that they've been missing. This could be a ginormous leap for the Reds because I do expect big things out of Sal Stewart. Right? Like Sal Stewart, if he picks up right where he left off, he was on pace for that 35 to 40 home run season. You get 35 to 40 home runs. Let's just say 35 home runs out of Sal Stewart. You had 49 from Suarez last year. Let's just say that he has 9 less than last year and he only hits 40. And you get the 25 from Ellie. And you get that 20 number from McLean. And Benson can get you 15. And like all of a sudden, this is a much different looking lineup. They're much more explosive. They're more dangerous. I think this team, especially because of the pitching, I said it at the beginning, just like the Bengals defense doesn't have to be perfect for them to go win football games. They don't even need to be elite. They don't even need to be good. They just need to be average. That's kind of my expectation for this lineup for the Reds right now. I need them to be not average. I need them to be a little bit slightly above average. I don't need them to be good. I don't need them to be great. I want them to. But with that pitching, And obviously the defense has been much improved since Francona's taken over. With that pitching, they don't have to be elite. They don't have to be the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers are elite offensively. Their bullpen has been trash, but they're so good offensively, they overcompensate for it. The Reds are not very good offensively. Rotation was great. The bullpen was solid, but it wasn't good enough to overcompensate for the lack of run production. Now everything's a little bit more balanced when it's all said and done. So we'll see. Scott Campbell. Scott, it's been a while, sir. Scott Campbell says, fun fact, if Suarez repeats his home run total from last year, he moves into 8th all-time in Reds history for home runs. Again, 189 home runs in his career, or 189 home runs he hit in the first 6 years with the Reds. 49 home runs just in one season last year. We'll see. We'll see. But I think this is huge for the Cincinnati Reds. The other thing that was cool about this move as well is it had come out that the Pittsburgh Pirates, they've been a little more aggressive this offseason. The difference is like we saw disappointed, you know how disappointed we were when the Reds swung for Kyle Schwarber and missed, right? Imagine swinging for Suarez and missing as well. That's what happened with the Pirates. Eugenio Suarez, it had come out that the Reds, the 15 mil for 1 year, that the Pirates were willing to offer more, that they were willing to offer more money than the Reds, and Suarez still picked the Reds over the Pirates. Now, obviously the familiarity with the organization. The thing about Cincinnati that's crazy, and this is what it is frustrating with Reds ownership, is players seem pissed when they leave. Like they don't, and what I mean by that is they don't want to leave. Nick Castellanos, to his credit, when he left Cincinnati, he when he went to Philadelphia, it's still there as of right now, he did a couple media hits where he was defending Reds fans, saying how much better Reds fans, they deserve more from their ownership. You had Castellanos saying, I wanted to remain in Cincinnati. I didn't want to leave. He liked it here. Suarez didn't want to leave. He liked it here. Sonny Gray didn't want to leave. He came out and said he liked it here. Like, these are big name players who are ultimately shipped away from the Reds, who are going on to say how much that they're bummed that they couldn't stay in Cincinnati. It's crazy. The way people talk about the Reds as if they're just some horrible organization. When players are in Cincinnati, they love playing for the Reds. And it's wild to me. In other sports, when you get shipped off from teams or franchises that you deem to be the junk of the of the league, they can't, Cleveland, players leave Cleveland. You can't wait to get out of the, away from the Browns, right? We hear those things all the time. That's not the case with the Reds. And I'm glad he's back. And this is a big deal when it's all said and done. So again, I'm ready for Reds season. I think we're less than 10 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. So let's go. Let's go. So I thought this was interesting. They put out the projections for what Eugenio Suarez could do in Cincinnati. And let me ask you guys this, based on these projections, because this would be a slight dip in production from what we saw from him last year. Again, 49 home runs last year. Eugenio Suarez Reds projection. Okay. The aging curve is tied into this along with his high strikeout percentage. It does impact the projection again, but only 27 players technically project to hit over 30 home runs this upcoming season. In fact, when they put these projections out, it's very rare to project any player to hit more than 40 home runs in the season to begin with. But here are the Eugenio Suarez projections as of now heading into this season. He's projected to score 76 runs. He's projected to have 30 home runs. He's projected to drive in 83 runs. And his splits, 228, 296, 444. The reason I love this move is because the Reds could have done nothing, and we all anticipated them to do nothing. They spent 15 mil on a one-year player with an option for year 2, but I don't think we're going to get there. That's besides the point. If Suarez provides 49 home runs for 15 mil, if he provides 40 home runs or 35 home runs for 15 mil, that's beyond a bargain. If he only hits 30 home runs, if he has if his splits are 228, 296, and 444, not great. You only spent 15 mil on 1 year and you made an attempt. I just think there's no risk here. It's all reward. I'm not against this move at all. I actually think this might have been a safer move for the Reds then Kyle Schwarber. I would have preferred Kyle Schwarber, but I don't think that this is a bad move whatsoever. It's a shorter deal. It's a 1-year deal. We're going to talk about the future of the Reds on TV and the changes that are coming there, because the Reds you'll have to change up how you take in Reds baseball this year outside of radio. But the Reds have less money coming in because of this change. We don't know if there's going to be a season next year. I would not bet on it. I would not count on there being a 2027 season. I just think this makes all the sense in the world for the Reds when it's all said and done. So I don't mind it. Now, just to give you an idea, Suarez in 2025, he played in 159 games. The Reds need a guy that's going to stay healthy. Hopefully he can repeat that in back-to-back years, because that was the other problem too. In his last year and a half with the Reds, he was banged up a lot. He struck out a lot, but he didn't complement the strikeouts with power numbers. I remember making the joke in his final year here about Eugenio 0 for 4, 0 for 5, Eugenio 0 for 6. I mean, he was just bad offensively. It's why I didn't have a problem with the Reds moving on from him. He kind of had he came back to life when he left Cincinnati about a year later. But in 2025, he had 134 hits in 159 games. He had 28 doubles, 49 home runs. He drove in 118 RBIs. I mean, that was a monster. If he replicates that in Cincinnati, that's massive. That is such a big time deal to me if he's able to replicate that in any kind of capacity. Nonetheless, Chad Kinster says he still thinks that the Reds need one more bat. I agree. I do wonder. We were wondering if the Reds were going to make another move to make room for this Suarez deal. Remember, he's a DH. When he does play, all right, he will play. He'll get some time at first base. He's going to get first base reps during spring training. It was announced yesterday by Charlie Goldsmith. Eugenio Suarez, you have Brian Hayes at third, best defensive third baseman in baseball. They don't want to give up a lot of defense, okay? Brian Hayes is going to be pretty much your everyday third baseman. You're going to see Suarez at times, though, play at third. That's his position. He's going to spend some time at first. He's going to spend the majority of his time as a designated hitter. So there are some other moves that the Reds could technically still look at. Andujar, I'm curious, the closer we get to spring training, the further into the offseason we get and the closer to spring training we get, maybe his number gets pushed down a bit. Maybe they could afford another 1-year deal with Andujar. Maybe, I mentioned Nick Castellanos earlier. I wouldn't have been excited if that was the only move the Reds made, but the Reds could take a flyer on Nick Castellanos because Philly needs to get rid of him. No one's going to take him off their hands, and he loved playing in Cincinnati before. I could see the Reds potentially knocking on the door of Philly, seeing what they need to do to get that done. Maybe sending a player their way if they have to find a way to get it done. So, yeah, Doug Toby says a lot of right-handed. Just this lineup is so versatile now. Again, something that they've really struggled with consistency in the past. But, man, I'm really curious. So, Chad, to your point, I still think they need another bat. If the Reds are done for the offseason, I'm okay with it. If the Reds don't make another move this offseason, I'm fine with it. I would like them to, don't get me wrong, but I'm fine if they don't make another move this offseason. But, man, I would love to see them. It would really, really bode well if they did try to maybe go get one more bat. Another guy that they could rotate in the outfield a bit. So we'll see. So my guys over at Chatterbox, they put out the projected lineup for the Reds against lefties and righties. The projected potential lineup against right-handed. So Doug Toby in the chat, shout out to Doug. Doug says, they have a lot of right-handed, left-hand options now. Whether it's even from a pitching perspective, yes, but from a lineup perspective, very versatile. So Chatterbox put this out yesterday, or they put this out earlier today, I should say. They put out the Reds' potential lineup against right-handed pitching. All right, TJ Friedel, Sal Stewart, Ellie De La Cruz, 1, 2, and 3. All right, your 4, 5, and 6 hitters would be Eugenio Suarez, Noelvi Marte, and Will Benson. And then your 7, 8, and 9 hitters are Tyler Stevenson, Matt McClain, and Brian Hayes. That's a potential lineup against right-handed pitching. Right? And, with that being said, you're, on the bench, you would have Spencer Steer. You would have Jose Trevino. And Jose Trevino, That's another guy that I'm a big fan of, because there was a point last year where he was so good and so consistent, where around the trade deadline, I was like, I'm not a big fan of moving on from Tyler Stevenson, but I wonder if you can maybe entertain it. Tyler Stevenson got his arbitration raise. He wants an extension. I don't think the Reds are going to give him one after this upcoming season. So Tyler Stevenson could technically be moved if the right move or right deal presented itself. But Trevino was so good last year. And right before last season, when they got him in that trade with the Yankees, they signed him to a 3-year, all right, I think it was an $18 million, 3-year, $18 million deal, $6 million a year for a catcher. His power numbers weren't great, but my goodness, he was one of the few guys that was hitting for average last year and was one of their more consistent hitters. So that's something to keep in mind. As far as what the lineup could potentially look like against left-handed pitching, they have Dane Myers in center field, one of their additions, Sal Stewart and Ellie De La Cruz. So that stays about the same. Suarez and Spencer Steer in the 4 and 5 spot, and then Stevenson, Marte, and McClain in the 6, 7, and 8 with Cabrian Hayes batting ninth. Again, and on your bench against left-handers, Trevino, TJ Friedel, Will Benson, and then Blade, who they got in the offseason as well. There's a high upside for him potentially as well. I'm excited for camp. The Reds have a lot of potential, and this move totally opens everything up. Shout out to Nick Krall. All we did was rip Nick Krall. A lot of you did. And I actually think that he had a killer offseason when you look at the changes that they've made. Because I thought it was, if you were going to fix this lineup, you weren't going to be able to address the holes in the bullpen. Or if you went all in on the bullpen, you weren't going to be able to fix the issues with the lineup. And they did both. There you go. Shaw says, why would Ellie still be in the 3-hole? That's gone back to, there was a lot, people got frustrated with Francona when he was in Cleveland, because he was obsessed with taking his best hitter and putting him in that 3 spot. People didn't like when Ramirez was constantly being hit in that 3 spot, but that's a Francona thing. But I don't mind Ellie hitting third. Especially because they're getting production from leadoff guys. If they weren't getting production from good leadoff hitters, I'd be advocating for him to be batting leadoff. But him hitting in front of Eugenio Suarez, I think that's massive. I think that's a huge deal. Because now all you got to tell him is, hey, if you hit the ball to the ballpark, that's great. But if you could just get on base, Suarez is going to get you over. He's going to get you over, or he's going to drive you in. So I have no problem with Ellie hitting third. I don't think that's a problem, nonetheless. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Sorry, back to the chat. Doug Toby says, money-wise, I think it was a pretty good deal. I think it was a great deal. $15 million for 1 year for a guy that is coming off of a 49-52 home run season, technically, when you had the postseason numbers in there. $15 million for that. I mean, Kyle Schwarber hit 56, 7 more home runs, technically 5 more if you include the postseason numbers. 5 more home runs total than what Suarez did last year, and the Reds would have had to spend double that to get that. I think that this was a massive deal for the Reds. Huge. We'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Do you or someone you know need a driver's license? Sign up now to get your testing completed at our Moraine Auto Title location. Hi, I'm Shannon Crabtree from the Montgomery County Clerk of Courts Office. Clerk Foley is proud to team up with the Ohio BMV to be a designated testing location, perfect for new drivers in southern Montgomery County. Schedule your driving skills test now on the Ohio BMV website. Choose a location at 5552 North Springboro Pike. Testing fees apply. We even have weekend hours to accommodate your busy schedule. Just another convenient service of your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts, Mike Foley.
A is for ABS, B is for BCM, C is for CVT, D is for, don't worry, we're not going to quiz you, because at Carroll Works Tire, we know the auto industry is full of acronyms. But here's the one that matters the most: tire. Trust, integrity, reliability, expertise. Carroll Works Tire, keeping Dayton rolling from A to Z. Find us online at c-wtire.com or talk to a real human at 937-461-5441.
With other language learning apps, I was just playing games. I wasn't really learning. Babbel's different.
Babbel was designed by over 200 language learning experts to be the most effective way to learn another language.
Every time I open the app, I can choose to work on my writing, speaking, or listening. And it saves my mistakes for me to review, so I'm constantly improving. Before Babbel, I thought I just wasn't good with languages. But now I'm speaking French. Tout ça, c'est grâce à Babbel.
Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
This Valentine's Day, create a space that feels warm and welcoming with help from Menards. Whether it's a small refresh or a big project, Menards has the tools and materials you need. Build something together and make your home a place you both love coming back to. Don't forget the sweets for your sweetheart. Get a 6-ounce bag of Russell Stover chocolate candies for $3.99 now through February 14th. Save big money and finish your projects together at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
From the Montgomery County Clerk of Court's office, I'm Shannon Crabtree. Join us for Clerk Mike Foley's award-winning Connecting with the Community speaker series, connecting citizens to local leaders. Join us on Tuesday, February 17th, as Erica Hubler from the Wright Dunbar Business District shares efforts underway to restore this historic and growing corridor. That's Connecting with the Community from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Employment Opportunity Center in the Westtown Shopping Center on West 3rd Street in Dayton. Another example of how Clerk Mike Foley is bringing the courthouse to you.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1-day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's 4 walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
All right, it's 3:54 here in the Miami Valley. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on a Monday, 937-518-1410. We'll get to your texts and your calls coming up more here in just a moment. A lot of excitement for Reds fans. Eugenio Suarez is back, a 1-year, $15 million deal. 49 home runs last year, along with 118 RBIs for the 2025 season. I can't imagine what those numbers would mean to a team that desperately needs that type of offensive firepower and production. So, a lot of excitement, a lot of expectations now for this Reds team. And I guess as this is a quick tag in and out. We're going to be back at the top of the hour here in a few minutes. But think about this during the break. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Expectations before the Suarez signing compared to what your expectations are now. How big a shift in expectations how big of a shift in your expectations did the addition of Suarez just impact? Did you go from, this team's not making the playoffs to, oh, man, they're definitely making the playoffs? Because I already had them flirting with the wild card before Suarez, because I think that pitching is just too good, and I think there's more offensive production there than people want to think coming into this year. But now, I think this team's good enough to compete for this division. I think they're good enough to win this division. Am I saying that they're the best team in the Central? By no means. But I think this team's good enough to win the division. Where are you? 937-518-1410, The Justin Kinner Show. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. Just search The Justin Kinner Show on Facebook or YouTube. You can watch the show there and interact in the chat. Let me know in the comment section. The addition of Suarez has done what for this Reds team? Non-playoff team to wildcard team to division contender. How big of a move was this for the Reds on a $15 million 1-year deal for Eugenio Suarez? We'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
My husband's an animal in bed.
Well,
Not in the fun way. Think warthog. With a chainsaw.
Snoring and sleep apnea affect over 90 million people, and 1 out of 4 couples sleep in separate rooms. Advent can help. We've been your one-stop solution for nasal congestion, snoring, and sleep apnea for over 20 years. Unlike many other practices, we focus exclusively on these conditions, so you get comprehensive care under one roof. Advent's unique approach can help you breathe and sleep better, and many avoid a CPAP. Plus, most insurance is accepted for our effective 20-minute in-office treatments.
Hey, the only animal you want in your bed is your dog.
Advent. Sleep better. Sleep together. Learn how you can improve your life at adventknows.com.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with the Banana Bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a large.
Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
At Advent, we help sleep apnea sufferers avoid the CPAP machine by getting your nose and throat working with our unique Advent approach that you won't find elsewhere.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. You know, the big wireless companies say they have discounts for people over 55, but unless you're willing to sit on hold and ask, you're probably paying more than you should. At Consumer Cellular, there's nothing to hunt down. We're built for people 50 plus with plans starting at just $20. And our 100% US-based customer service actually answers the phone. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today and get your second month free for a limited time.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
You've still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's a tradition at the Flower Man. A dozen roses and a free crystal vase. Only $15.99. And it's real crystal. Thank you, Flower Man. Only $15.99 for a dozen roses and a free crystal vase. Must limit it to the first 1,000 customers. The Flower Man. It's a tradition. Go to flowermanflowers.com. That's flowermanflowers.com.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, and we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. A lot of Reds talk in hour number one. We'll pick up with Reds talk right here, and then we'll move on to some NFL talk here shortly. College football, that fun stuff here in just a moment. All right. So, okay, look, this offseason's been weird. I said earlier, it's like, the regular season for the Reds last year was wild because it was one of those things where, you felt like this team was going on a run and that you were buying in. It's a playoff team, and then they would lose a series against a bad team, and then I would check out. And that was a roller coaster. I mean, all the way up to game 162 that they technically lost and still clinched a playoff spot on game 162. I mean, it was a roller coaster of a season, and it's been a roller coaster of an off season. Just like last year, I'd buy in and give up on him. Then I'd buy back in and give up on him. And that's kind of been the offseason, when they got off to they weren't really doing anything to start the offseason outside of, bringing back, Emilio Pagan, which was a big deal. They re-signed him. But, they lost, they traded away Gavin Lux. They don't bring back Austin Hayes. Zach Littell, who they acquired at the deadline last year, moved on from him. No Scott Barlow, Brent Suter, Miguel Andujar, who I kind of liked, like Santiago Espinal. See ya, deuces, by the way. I'm fine with that one. But the bottom line is they, we bid farewell to a lot more pieces than the pieces that were brought in initially to start. And we were like, man, you have a Terry Francona as manager. You have an L.A. De La Cruz. You have a top 5 rotation in baseball. You have arguably a guy in Hunter Green that rivals any top 5 pitcher in baseball at this point. You have so many special pieces. Why would you not try to be more aggressive and go all in? But to Nick Krall and that front office's credit, they said we have to address this bullpen, and we have to, of course, find a way to improve the production offensively. But I think they had to look at both deficiencies and say, which one of these deficiencies are we more likely to just naturally improve at on our own without totally relying on off-season moves? And I think it's safe to say that when you look at the fact that LA didn't produce as much last year because he was hurt, coming off a shoulder surgery, Matt McClain, you look at that, you saw the emergence of Sal Stewart in the 1 month that he played last year. So I think they looked at that initially and said, we are more likely to improve offensively without doing anything than we are if we don't do anything in the bullpen and pitching-wise and go in on offense. So they could have spent a lot of money on offense and really just weathered the storm with the bullpen, and then we'd be talking about a team that just can't hold on to leads throughout the season. Or they could do what they did, and they said they were going to go all in with their bullpen. I compared it to football. If your team needs an offensive line, that means a lot of the attention of the offseason is going to go to that. Your top free agents are probably going to be offensive linemen. Some of your top draft picks are going to be offensive linemen. And those offseasons suck. They're boring. You don't rush to your team shop to buy the jersey of the offensive lineman that you just drafted or that you just signed in free agency. You know what I mean? Like those moves don't move the needle. I talked about this with Emilio Pagan at Reds Fest. I said, with all due respect, I love that they brought you back. I love the Pierce Johnson move. I love Caleb Ferguson and Brock Burke. I love those moves. But those moves don't energize a fan base who is waiting for you to do something. So I kind of like you in football, you got to build the team in the trenches. In pitching, the trenches equates to the bullpen to me. It doesn't matter how good your rotation is if you can't hold on to whatever lead that rotation hands off to you. It doesn't matter how good your offense is if your bullpen can't hold on to whatever lead that your offense provided for you. So to me, I thought Nick Krall was doing the right thing, even though it wasn't appeasing the fan in me as far as interest level goes. But I said this is an offseason that we were going to appreciate a hell of a lot more once the season started, and maybe once we got deep into the heart of the season when we realized just how good this bullpen was. That's kind of where I've been mentally. Like, okay, it's not an exciting offseason. It's not going to generate fans to rush to get season tickets and buy tickets for opening day and all this. But it's a definite need. Definite need. And the Reds could have, we'll bring back Emilio Pagan and maybe get a Caleb Ferguson, and then we'll get a Kyle Schwarber, and we'll call it a day. Guys, I'm here to tell you, the Reds could have brought back Emilio Pagan, got Kyle Schwarber, and that could have been all the moves they made. This team still would have had problems this season. I think the fact that you got the second best power hitter in free agency in Eugenio Suarez, all while bringing back Pagan, getting Pierce Johnson, who's a phenomenal bullpen pitcher, getting a Caleb Ferguson and a Brock Burke, the moves that they made to get the abundance of lefties and righties, to give them that, so they could be versatile in any decisions that they make late in games. With Pagan, who really is, I know they're going to have most likely a closer by committee type thing, which I'm not a fan of, but I think he's theoretically going to be their closer. This team has everything you need in the bullpen to win this division. That rotation has everything you need to win a World Series. Now, you're not winning a World Series because you're not going to beat the Dodgers. It doesn't matter. But this team has everything it needs, pitching-wise, to put you in position to make a run come October. Just don't run into the Dodgers in the wild card series, and you'll be just fine. But the Reds were able to have their cake and eat it too. They went all in on the bullpen, waited, and were patient, and still ended up with the number 2 power hitter, the number 2 home run hitter in free agency. And I think this Reds team is the most improved team in the National League Central. I don't think any other team has improved more. The Cubs had a very solid offseason, but I don't think the Brewers, nobody improved more than the Reds, and the Reds were in the playoffs last year. So I'm all in on what the Reds have done, and maybe they have another move left up their sleeve. But these are the moves that the Reds made this offseason. You bring back Emilio Pagan. You re-signed him. All right, you got Pierce Johnson. You got J.J. Bleday, again, who's going to be a depth piece when it comes to this lineup, right? You, obviously, Caleb Ferguson. Caleb Ferguson and Pierce Johnson, those two pieces are very dynamic. Brock Burke is huge. All right, you got Dane Myers, who's very versatile. And then you think about some of the new pieces, or the newcomers, if you will, that, you're going to get Rhett Lauder back. Rhett Lauder is probably going to be a bullpen piece at this point, which is fine. Because if you experience injuries to anyone in the rotation, Rhett Lauder is probably going to serve that Nick Martinez role this year, assuming Rhett Lauder is healthy. Rhett Lauder probably starts out in that bullpen. Okay. And I think that eventually, and by the way, I think Rhett Lauder could theoretically start out in Louisville. It'll be really interesting to see how he looks during spring. But I could see Rhett Lauder kind of playing that Nick Martinez role where, hey, Nick Martinez, we're going to put you in the bullpen. And if we need you in the rotation, if we get thin down the stretch, we're going to, you're versatile. We know how good of a starting pitcher you are. We saw it. So I think that that's huge. And then don't forget about guys that they already had. All right. When you look up and down that that bullpen and that rotation, as far as that goes. So we'll see. I love what they were able to do. I love the moves that they made. Again, Chase Burns called him up last year. The Reds kept Brady Singer, and you have Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott, and Nick Lodolo. And don't forget about the fact that you have Graham Ashcraft in the bullpen as well. So I'm all in on what the Reds have done. I think that they've killed it, to be honest with you. I think that this has been a hell of an offseason. If I had to give it a grade, keep in mind, I got to give it the small market curve, right? Okay, because they'll never compete with what the Dodgers and those teams do from a star power standpoint. So I can't say that an A with the Dodgers is an A with the Reds. Based on the Reds' restrictions, I give them an A. I give them an A. They didn't just get one or two. They revamped that bullpen. And they went out and got a guy that hit 49 home runs last year on the cheap and have a little bit of flexibility here because they didn't have to give up any prospects or pieces to get Suarez. So now, if you get to the deadline coming up and you find yourself within a couple of games of the division, now they could maybe dangle Brady Singer out and go get another bat if they need to at the deadline. I just think this team set themselves up to be able to make some decisions either throughout camp or, of course, throughout the season. So who knows? Keith, what up, Keith? Keith Tolliver says, Cards fan here, and I think it was a great move, and it moved the needle from wild card to a serious postseason contender. I'm with you. So I threw out the question a little bit ago. Your expectations before the Suarez announcement compared to what they are now. What are your expectations for the team? Where did they go? Before the Suarez deal, I had this team competing for that final wild card spot. I don't know if I would have predicted going to game 162, but I would say that we're going to be balancing Bengals, Browns, and Buckeyes talk with the Reds and, flirting with the postseason. That's what I thought. Now I'm past that. I think that this is a postseason team. I think that they are a playoff team. And I think that now we can move the expectations to not competing for that final wild card spot. I think they have enough now to go compete for that division. Now, a lot has to go right, health and all that. But I'm going to say the same thing about the Cubs. Well, Suarez has to stay healthy. He played in 158 games last year. Well, that was last year. Well, that's fine. We could play this game with every team. Well, I need to see what Suarez, I saw that in the comment section today. It just depends what Suarez the Reds got. Well, what does that mean? That's like, I'm just saying, like, we can't do that. Every time the Reds make a move, it's, well, I got to see this first. No. We get mad when this team doesn't do anything. And then when they do it, we move on to the next level of negativity. Well, I get it, but, I need to see it first. See what? See what? Why don't we just be positive for a change? They revamped the bullpen. They have a top 5 rotation, and they just went out and got a guy that had 118 RBIs and 49 home runs last year. What are we doing? Stop with the negativity as far as that goes. I think this team can contend for the division. I really do. Let's go to Scott. Scott Campbell on YouTube. What up, Scott? He said, my expectation before the Suarez news was meh, and he gave him a grade of an F. Now NL Central champs are bust. Okay, that with the grade of a C+. And if that's your expectation, that's great. Scott, I'm not going to say NL Central or bust. I just expect them to look more the part of the Brewers and the Cubs than last year, because last year the Reds were one of 3 Central. Look, the Central, say what you want about it, it's not as strong as it used to be. It still produced 3 playoff teams last year. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, this is a bad division. We're coming off of a season where 3 of the 5 made the postseason. And I think those same 3 can make it again. But last year we saw the gap between the Reds and the Cubs and the Reds and the Brewers. I don't think we're going to see that gap. I think that at times the Cubs look like the best team in the division. At times the Brewers look like the best team in the division. At no point did the Reds look like the best team in the division last year. I think we're going to see pockets of the season where we're questioning who is the best team in that division. I think the Reds will flirt with that. I think they're going to flirt with the division. I'm just more confident in them making the playoffs now. I think that this is a 85-90 win team. But I'm telling you, if Suarez is that 49 home run, 118 RBI guy, if he has those numbers, that means guys around him are having monster numbers as well, which is why I'm pushing that 85-90, maybe 92 win season. Who knows? 937-518-1410. Let's go to Shaw. Shaw, thanks for holding. You're on live. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, man. How you doing?
Oh, good. Another day in paradise.
You sound so excited.
I am. I just know you're about to be mopey and bring it down.
I'm not going to be mopey. You're making my comment that I wrote in earlier out to be way worse than what it is. It's just optimistically positive about it. I'm neither negative or positive. I'm in the middle on it. There's plenty of positive to take from it. Yes, I agree with everything you said. The Reds finally made a move. They did something that is against the norm for something that a franchise that I've held to the fire for the last 35 years. They did something that I didn't expect. They did something that I would have lost a lot of money on if somebody would have made me bet that say, hey, are they going to go make a move for a bat, or are they going to do what they normally do? I would have lost all that. I'm just sitting here also looking at it from the other side going, I'm trying not to be Debbie Downer, but he hit 228 last year.
He hit 49 home runs, 118 RBIs. You're sounding like, I just won $1 million in the lottery, but I got to pay taxes.
And what did that do for Seattle?
What do you mean? What did it do for Seattle?
He hit 189 for Seattle. This
isn't about Seattle. This is about the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds needed a power bat, and they went out and got the second best power bat in free agency.
That is one narrative, and that is one way to paint it.
I'm not painting anything. That's the facts. Those are facts. Reds needed a power bat. Reds got a power bat. I'm not painting. This isn't fill in the paint the color with the little brush and the little colors. Those are facts. Did he or did he not hit 49 home runs?
Of those 7 home run hitters from last year, who was last of those 7 home run hitters?
I don't have those home run. I don't. Okay.
That would be Suarez.
So who gives a blank? Who cares? What's your point?
It's we can paint stats however we want to.
I'm not painting stats. I'm sharing them. I'm not painting them. I'm not trying. I'm saying the Reds needed power. They needed power numbers. They got power numbers. He had a good first half. Did he hit 49 home runs in the first half of the season?
He had 36 of them.
He's fine. 118 RBIs, my guy. He's fine. He's going to be just fine.
87 of which came in Arizona.
So hold on. You called in to say, I'm going to be negative. I'm actually very positive. And then you've just been nothing but negative this entire time. I'm not turning you anything. I don't have that power. I'm not God.
Come on. You know exactly what I mean. I'm not going to say
I really don't actually. I don't. I'm not asking
you. Yes, you do. I'm not going to sit here and just gloss the guy because you want me to gloss him.
I didn't say you had to gloss him.
I'm not that guy.
I don't even know what glossing means.
Yes,
pervert.
You do.
You sound like a pervert.
No, you know exactly what it means. Don't act like you don't. I'm the guy who's going to sit here and to be realistic with you every single time of the way. Positive, negative, or indifferent, I'm going to be realistic. And if this, there's a lot of if going on. If this guy stays healthy, if this guy stays healthy, if this guy stays healthy, if this guy stays healthy. At
That's
the
the
bottom of the
same
line, you
damn
have
thing for every team in any sport in the history of sports. Like that's any team. That's any team, every team who has ever added a player to their roster. This is a good move if he could stay healthy. This is a good move if he can actually play. This is a good move if he actually produces. I don't know why we always have to put out those negative disclaimers. Of course. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, hey, Eugenio Suarez is going to rupture his ACL and miss the whole season, but this is still a great move for the Reds. No. We're talking about as we can't sit there and just imagine what's going to happen if he gets injured. I mean, injuries are a part of the game, yes, but he's not injured right now. And if he gets injured, we'll talk about it then. Why are we talking about phantom injuries when the Reds just made a huge signing? It's like you're pissed off that they did something good because it goes against what you were pushing.
No, it has nothing to do with any of that. Again, putting words in my mouth. I'm not pissed off because they signed Suarez.
You're breaking Suarez's knee. You have Suarez.
No,
we're having a funeral for Suarez next week.
So congratulations, we spent $15 million on one player. He goes down. What then?
You were just pissed off 2 weeks ago because they weren't spending any money on any player. You were mad that the Reds didn't spend $25 million or $30 million on Schwarber, which would have been double that amount of money, and you would have.
Yes, I was. And how did I start the call? They did something that was completely against what I thought they were going to do.
And now you're still mad.
No. I'm not mad.
I would hate to see if you were.
You've seen me mad. You know exactly how I sound when I'm mad. I just am not going to sit here and pump and get all excited and get pumped up over something, one, we haven't seen yet. Two, we saw him in the second half of last season, and there's a reason why he was still available in February.
There's a reason he's still available in February. It's because he's 33 years old. The Reds aren't marrying him long-term. It's a one-year deal, and he's coming off of a season of, I don't know if I've said this yet, 49 home runs and 118 RBIs. Those are not just small numbers, by the way.
49 home runs, something he had never done in his career.
Cool. The Reds can get 40 home runs out of him. It's a win.
Okay, you asked a bigger question, and we'll move it to this.
Let's move.
You asked a bigger question. What does it do? What does it do to my long-term view of what this team can be?
Probably nothing because he's on the IR to start the season, apparently.
Yep, that's what I said.
I mean, you literally said, I can't get excited. Or what did you say, glaze or blaze or whatever it is you said earlier? I can't.
I'm not going to get excited over one guy.
No, what was the goofy word you used? The pervert word.
I said I'm not going to glaze him either.
Glaze, there it is. That was the pervert word you used. So you said you weren't going to glaze the deal because he could potentially get hurt. But you could say that about anybody.
There's more to it. There's more to it, but I mean, you can narrow it down to that. But there was more.
You narrowed it down to that. You said he can get hurt.
You narrowed it down to that. I said there was plenty to it. I said they did. You forget about all the positive stuff that I started out the conversation with.
Let's start.
You somehow
because you did the whole no offense, but
mind and just are stuck on the negative part of it. Someone else. Back to the topic at hand of what I think this is going to do for them. I think it makes a postseason contender, a legitimate postseason contender.
How? He was horrible in the second half of the season last year. He ain't going to do nothing for the Reds. How are they a legit postseason contender now?
Do you want me to speak positively or do you want me to go negative on it and say they'll win 70 games? Which one do you want?
I got nothing. I can't figure you out. So just I'll stop interrupting. Finish your point.
This, I believe, took them from being a 75 win team to an 83 to an 88 win team, depending on health. I think going into spring training, you can look at this ball club and say, yep, I think they should definitely be competing for October. I think anything less than that is a disappointment.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to say wild card or division. I'm just going to say they should be realistically in the hunt for the postseason by my brother's birthday, which is August 19th. They should be in the hunt realistically. And what happens from August 19th to the end of the season, that's up to them. And may the baseball gods be in our favor.
Nah, we're not going to say our favor. Reds fans' favor. We're cutting you out of this. You're too negative. I hung up on him. We don't need that negativity. The Reds finally did something And Shaw's talking about, well, could he stay healthy? Guys, that what are we doing? What are we doing? What if the Bengals this offseason go out and get the 3 best defensive free agents in football? And then every Bengals fan said, well, that's awesome, but hopefully it's only good if they stay healthy. Well, no one's going to say that because we all know that. We all know that your team is only as good as your health. So, of course, we know that. Why do we have to say that? The only reason you say that is just to be negative, to bring something down. The Reds went out and got the second best power. They needed power. They needed a home run hitter, and they went and got a guy that hit 49 home runs a year ago and 118 RBIs. And instead we talked about, well, I don't know. I don't know if he can stay healthy. Man, I don't know. We'll be right back. Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. I don't get it.
Hey, y'all, it's the Rocket Roger Clemens here. Spent a lot of time pitching heat. Years later, the pain in my joints remind me of those days, but I'm not looking to sit still, and I definitely am not interested in going under the knife. That's why I chose QC Kinetics.
Not just for elite retired athletes. QC Kinetics gives everyday folks joint pain relief using regenerative treatments that work with your body to help repair joint damage.
No surgery, no long recovery, whether it's your knees, hips, shoulders, or back. My friends at QC Kinetics will help you get moving again so you can get back to doing the things you love.
QC Kinetics medical professionals will look at your x-rays or MRI to determine if you're a good candidate.
I trusted QC Kinetics to help me feel like myself again, and I'm proud to recommend them to you.
Call QC Kinetics today and schedule your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast, mostly cloudy and 20 tonight. Snow is likely tomorrow, a high of 32. On Wednesday, sunshine and 23. I'm Rick Schrepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
So the body knows that it needs to heal itself, but it doesn't know how to concentrate it and target it into just one area. So that's where we come in.
By we, Dr. Ashley Caravelli means the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. QC Kinetics.
We put in those treatments, then it sends out little signalers to your body. We're able to make the body focus on the areas that need the most healing.
QC Kinetics has gathered brilliant medical minds like Dr. Caravelli and Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine, to lead the way in these innovative pain treatments.
So at QC Kinetics, we have a whole team working nationwide with cutting edge research to reach our patients and treat them and know that surgery is no longer their only option.
The consultation is free. Find out if you're a candidate. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle is more than a tax preparer. We're your friend. Stop and see Michael Maxwell and Joe Tannis at their new office at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Whether you have personal or business taxes, Michael and Joe are here to take care of all the details for you, down to the last penny. Allow our experience to ease the burden of doing it yourself. Make an appointment at 937-543-5770 or online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where our target is your satisfaction.
Thinking about a new home, a remodel, or an outdoor upgrade? Celebrate 70 years at the Miami County Home and Outdoor Living Show, presented by 84 Lumber, February 13th through the 15th at Hobart Arena in Troy. Talk one-on-one with local experts, see the latest ideas and trends, and get practical advice for your next project. Admission is free, powered by T-Fiber, February 13th through the 15th. Don't miss the Miami County Home and Outdoor Living Show. Your home, your style. Trusted for 70 years.
Winter is in full swing, and Aleve is here to keep you moving. When the cold weather sets in, everyday aches and pains can linger, but Aleve's got your back. With up to 12 hours of body pain relief per dose, Aleve keeps you going with long-lasting body pain relief to get you through whatever the season brings. Chilly days or cozy nights, Aleve gives you that long-lasting body pain relief you can count on this winter. Try Aleve. Use as directed for minor aches and pains.
He's coming. Here he comes.
Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless. What a waste.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Progressive Insurance can protect your home and auto. And you can save money when you bundle your home and auto. Get a quote at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
Do you have an old sports program, baseball, photo, ticket, or game-used equipment just collecting dust? Sports Investments wants to buy your sports memorabilia. They're also interested in old sports cards and also buying political, aviation, and entertainment items. Bring your collectibles to Sports Investments and get a fair value on the spot. If you decide to sell, they'll pay you immediately. Sports Investments is the largest buyer of memorabilia and cards in the area since 1993. Sports Investments also feature the best selection of autographed memorabilia, sports cards, and other collectible items for sale, including all your favorites like Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Bengals, the Browns, the Big Red Machine, UC, XU, UK, NKU, UD, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, just to name a few. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
Black history is American history, and this Black History Month, the Ohio Education Association believes every student deserves the right to learn the full story of the nation we share. I'm OEA President Jeff Wensing. In 33 years as a teacher, I've seen how honest, inclusive education helps students become critical thinkers and engaged citizens. This Black History Month, stand with the Ohio Education Association as we stand up for our students' freedom to learn.
Hey, Cordell Transportation is now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers, excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply right now, online at CordellTransportation.com. Do it right now. Driven to succeed.
It's a tradition at the Flower Man. A dozen roses and a free crystal vase. Only $15.99. And it's real crystal. Thank you, Flower Man. Only $15.99 for a dozen roses and a free crystal vase. Must limit it to the first 1,000 customers. The Flower Man, it's a tradition. Go to flowermanflowers.com. That's flowermanflowers.com.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Are you ready to tackle this tax season alone? Well, you don't have to. Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services, with its 30-plus years of experience, is here to help you with business and individual taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll, either in person, drop-off, or through their secure client portal. Belmont Business Consultants in Eaton and Dayton is standing by. Call them in Eaton at 937-472-3300 or in Dayton at 937-252-2217 or on the web at belmontbctxs.com. The NCAA First Four is back at the epicenter of college hoops. The excitement tips off Selection Sunday, March 15th, with 2 family-friendly events. Lace up for the Big Hoopla 4-miler and bring the family to the free STEM Challenge, both at Wright State University. It all leads to the NCAA First Four at UD Arena, March 17th and 18th. The First Four, Dayton, and the Big Hoopla. Details at DaytonHoopla.com.
Do you have an oak tree in your yard? The Ohio Chapter International Society of Arboriculture is committed to advancing responsible tree care practices while preventing a fungal disease called oak wilt. They remind those who own and manage oak trees the best time to prune is November to early March. To find out more, there are over 1,000 qualified tree experts in Ohio. To find an ISA-certified arborist in your area, visit treesforohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
The future depends on teachers who are reinventing the classroom and starting their students on journeys that will change the course of history. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America.
That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If society collapsed tomorrow, how long would your family last? If you run out of food, probably not very long. That's why over 3 million American families trust My Patriot Supply for preparedness. Right now, you can get their best-selling 3-month food kit for $100 off. It's 3 months worth of real hearty meals that give you 2,000 calories a day and last up to 25 years. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com to get your 3-month kit for $100 off. The discount won't last long, so go to MyPatriotSupply.com today. That's MyPatriotSupply.com.
Did you know you can stop the spread of STIs by using Condom Sense? Yes, Condom Sense is when you correctly use latex condoms every time. They are highly effective in reducing the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. To learn more about using condoms, how to get free condoms, and how to get tested for STIs, call Public Health Dayton and Montgomery County at 937-225-5700. Let's use Condom Sense and stop the spread of STIs.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, and we are back. I'm Justin Kinner, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, here on a Monday. Wright State swept the Milwaukee series over the week. We have the Wright State Coaches Show coming up here tonight at 6 o'clock. So at 6 o'clock, Chris Collins, Jim Brown, and Clint Sargent, head coach of the Raiders, will be at Modex Tequila Bistro over at the Green, right across from the movie theater. So the Wright State Coaches Show coming up tonight from 6 to 7. And then Wright State will hit the road again. They'll have Robert Morris, who won the league last year. Wright State, to their credit, that Milwaukee trip, they always struggle on that trip every year. And they always split the Detroit trip and the Milwaukee trip. They've never swept both of those series in the same season before, but that's how good Wright State's been. After a little bit of a bumpy start throughout the non-con, they've figured it out. I mean, they're dominating this conference right now. They're sitting in first place, and all the teams that were said to be the real contenders in the league coming into the season, Wright State's dominated all of them. I mean, they've beat Oakland twice. They've beat Milwaukee twice. Milwaukee and Oakland were the top two teams that were favored to win the league to start. They've taken both head-to-heads there. All right, they've taken both they've swept Green Bay, they've swept Milwaukee, they've swept Oakland. They split with Youngstown State, and Youngstown beat them back on December 6th when they were fully, when they were, early on in the non-con, still into that early conference time. And then Wright State got the best of them at home just last week or the week before, whenever that was. But the only blemish Wright State has is that upset loss against Cleveland State. And as I mentioned, that was like the ultimate trap game because they had Northern Kentucky, their rival, coming up that Saturday. And then they dominated Northern Kentucky as well. So Wright State, they have for the first time, they'll face Robert Morris for the first time this season coming up on Wednesday. And then they'll play Fort Wayne for the first time, the Mastodons, on Saturday. That's a homecoming game this Saturday night, and we'll be giving out tickets all week. I'll tell you how you can get those coming up here just around the corner. But we welcome you back again. It's the Justin Kinner Show. We talked a lot about Eugenio Suarez. I'm done talking about the Eugenio Suarez deal for now, but that is a massive deal. That should have Reds fans feeling super excited about the direction of this team heading into the season. And it's like, I do wonder, I do think that the front office sat back, and Reds fans complain every year about the lack of aggressiveness in the offseason. And I think that you Reds fans last year, they weren't super aggressive in the offseason, and we kind of gave them a pass because we understood that the TV deal impacted that. Okay. And we understood that, okay, you didn't make a lot of big moves, but you did just go out and get Terry Francona. But what the Reds couldn't do is back-to-back off seasons of underwhelming player movement. And to their credit, you could tell they were hesitant and they were kind of picking their spots early. And then they kind of flipped a switch and said, okay, we got to do something, because I thought that the Reds fan base was as flat as I can remember heading into Reds Fest in quite some time. And we've talked about the players, the additions that they made to the bullpen. I compared that to the trenches in the NFL. If you are a fan of an NFL team that needs, an offensive line, makeover, that offseason is going to suck for you as a fan. No matter who they draft or what free agent they sign to help build the trenches, you're not rushing to the team store to buy that individual's jersey. And that's the same thing when your team needs bullpen help. We got mad and said that the Reds weren't doing anything when realistically all along they were. They were actually doing a lot. And that's the thing. Nobody rushes to the team store to buy bullpen jerseys. Like, you just don't do that. We wanted the flashy home run hitter. We wanted the position player, and we wanted the Kyle Schwarber move. It didn't happen. But to the Reds' credit, they went out and got a guy that hit 49 home runs last year, that drove in 118, had 118 RBIs, 88 runs himself. Like, it was a monster season. Was not as strong down the stretch as what he was to start, but that's the thing. The Reds, whether he gives them a hot first half or hot back half, who cares? If the Reds can get 49 home runs, I'll take 49 home runs at 118 RBIs in any way that you can get it. You play in some of March, we play in April, May, June, July, August, September. Suarez is not going to be, he's not going to give you 10 plus home runs every single month. He's going to have an off month, 2 off months. Who cares? I think that was a major move by the Reds, and they might not be done. And my favorite part about it, they didn't have to give up any prospects to get it done. It only cost them $15 million. And it's one of those deals where if he ends up not being very good, the Reds aren't out anything. They didn't give up prospects. They only signed him to a 1-year deal. I think that this is one of the safest, biggest moves that the Reds could have made. I actually think this deal might end up being, it's safer than Kyle Schwarber, but I think it's just as effective. at the end of the day. So other Reds news. All right. Other Reds news. We knew. So I talked about this, that the reason we were able to be a little patient with the Reds was because we weren't sure the uncertainty of their TV provider, their TV deal with FanDuel TV, who has missed some payments. And now it looks like the Reds will not be on FanDuel TV this upcoming season. FanDuel TV is back, gone. All right. That's a thing of the past now. So the Reds looking for another TV home. So it was announced that the Reds will leave FanDuel Sports Network with Major League Baseball, with MLB set to produce their games this upcoming season. All right. So the games will be produced by Major League Baseball in 2026. The Reds have had this option for the last couple of years, but they've always kind of just hung around a bit. They're going to lose money. So for them to spend as much money as they did this offseason while knowing they're going to lose money by opting out of the FanDuel TV deal because of the uncertainty, this is a big gamble for this upcoming season. I will say this, the MLB TV games, they're better produced. They look better. The quality's better. I'm excited about it from a fan viewing standpoint. I just don't like it because it's less money. All right. Nick Kirby tweeted out a little bit ago. He's with with Chatterbox, and he hosts the #1 Reds podcast in the country, in Chatterbox Reds. But he tweeted out a little bit ago that if you are in the Reds TV market, you will have to buy Reds specific MLB TV package. That's $100 for the year for just Reds, or $200 for all teams. You will get blacked out with regular or T-Mobile free package. So if you get the free package, you're going to get the Reds games will be blacked out. So to watch the Reds coming up this season for the Reds specific package, that'll be $100. Or you can get the $200 package that will bring you all the games as far as that goes. So again, it's a little bit more of a pain in the arse, yes, but it's just one of those where I think it's a better move for the Reds, maybe not financially, but I'm going to tell you, the games are going to look better. Guardians fans, I think your team, you guys have been with MLB for a couple of years now. I've heard nothing but good things about the quality of the broadcast and just everything. And it does sound like the Reds are, by going to MLB, no one has shaken up their broadcast team. And I think John Sadak, some think he's a little too over the top, but I don't think there's another broadcaster today that does a better job of calling big moments. And Ellie provided a lot of big moments that rookie season, and John Sadek's voice on the call is phenomenal. John Sadek's a very good college basketball broadcaster as well. And he calls college football. I think Sadek, he's a heck of a guy, and I think he does a heck of a job. I understand why some people, he gets me at times. I don't like that every foul ball or warning track power sounds like it was hit, into the water. Like, it drives me nuts, some of those things. But I think his passion is unmatched, and I'm a big fan of his work. So he'll probably be back. Chris Welch probably be back, and I'm hoping the radio, Tommy Thrall, that's not going to impact them and the radio guys and the Cowboy. But nonetheless, but yeah, the Reds informed Major League Baseball of their intentions to be broadcasted by them on this past weekend. This means that Reds games will be broadcasted exclusively by MLB. This means that the Reds games they're going to be available direct to consumer. And and again, more information on this. Historically, MLB has sold subscriptions at $19.99 a month for this type of model. However, the channel that you're used to will also carry the broadcast as well. So if you're on Spectrum, I guess it's channel 49 possibly. They're also going to be providing updates on all of this as it progresses, and we'll keep you updated on that as well. $100. It's a lot. Hey, to watch the Reds this year, it's going to cost you $100. I see a lot of people complaining about that, but I don't think it's that bad. But I guess you usually get that with the $100 you spend a month on cable or whatever, whether it's YouTube TV or others. And now you're having to spend $100 for the summer, but it all averages out. I don't think it could be worse, I guess is my point. I don't think it's the end of the world as far as that goes. But other information on this, 6 of the 9 Major League Baseball teams that had Main Street Sports as their media rights, to the league. So the Brewers, Marlins, Rays, Royals, Cardinals, and Reds are all moving over to Major League Baseball now. Braves, Tigers, and Angels, they have not decided. They're still up in the air. So who knows? And that's the other thing, too. This also impacts, because if you had Bally Sports, you could get the Cavs and Guardians, or you can get the Reds. You know what I mean? Like, now that impacts how you take in some of those teams. So I understand people's frustration as far as that goes, but yeah. Or for free, you could listen to Cincinnati Reds all season long, every spring training game, every regular season game, and hopefully every postseason game right here on 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton's radio home for Cincinnati Reds baseball. All right, we're going to take you right up to the top of the hour here. It's interesting. So I want to transition. We don't talk NBA a lot. And we just saw the Lakers play at the Knicks last night. And this really isn't a Lakers, Knicks, or NBA conversation. It is a LeBron conversation. I tell you what, and I'm not talking politics here, but politics ruins everything. And I feel like politics has ruined fans' perception of 2 all-time great athletes on opposite ends of the political spectrum. I'll start with this one. So, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, or former quarterback, I guess, and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is one of the all-time greats. 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion. Skill for skill, you can make an argument that he can go head-to-head with any quarterback in the history of the league. Aaron Rodgers, still more talent. Even at Tom Brady at his peak, Aaron Rodgers was more talented. You know what I mean? But Tom Brady, obviously, that's the career you want. But Aaron Rodgers, when the Steelers lost tonight, I enjoyed watching the Steelers lose because I hate the Steelers. But I was like, man, I am kind of torn because Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great. And the amount of negativity surrounding Aaron Rodgers because of his politics or because of his views on COVID or, and all this stuff, I feel like because he stood so strong on his side or on his stance, it ruined how a lot of people looked at him. And I feel like politics ruined how we view one of the all-time greats as he wrapped up his career. So much venom being thrown his way from the left. I'm not beating up on the left because I'm about to beat up on the right coming up here in a moment. And I feel like we might be bidding farewell to another all-time great. And I'm not even going to put Aaron Rodgers in LeBron James category because LeBron James is like a all-time sports great. Aaron Rodgers is an all-time NFL great. LeBron James is an all-time sports great. And I think that he is the most disrespected athlete in, I want to say history of sports, but in my era of sports, I will say that. I think what we're watching is so not normal. It's not natural what we're watching for a man his age to be doing what he's doing. And all people do is bury him because of his, desire to speak up on things he views politically and feels strongly about. And shame on the right for letting that get in the way of witnessing one of the all-time sports greats, not basketball, but sports greats. And shame on the left for letting that get in the way of taking in one of the all-time great NFL quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers. I hate politics. It sucks. That's why I like doing the sports talk show. It's not religion. It's not politics. It's sports talk. Sometimes stuff overlaps with it. But overall, I do like, to stick to sports. Yeah, I do like to stick to sports. I don't like to kind of tiptoe into other stuff because I just think that you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Last night, Jelly Roll, people trying to get him to talk about ICE. They're trying to poke the bear because everyone has no problem speaking up about their take on it, right? He's quiet about it. Instead of respecting that, they're trying to set him up to say something. And he said, you know what? I think he said, he didn't say hillbilly. I forgot what he said, but he just said, I'm a redneck. I'm not smart enough to speak on these things. And he's not going to. Good for him. Because if you speak up on something, great. The people that agree with you think you're awesome for doing it. And then a whole other group of people hate you, regardless of what side it is. And then if you don't speak up, then everybody hates you. It's like you can't win for anything. I guess what I'm saying is everyone should just mind their own damn business and just be entertained. All right. LeBron James could potentially be, and I have a weird feeling that he is quietly retiring in front of everybody right now. And all people, every time he does anything on social media or anything, it's just nothing but political hate. And I'm like, this is arguably one of the biggest sports names in the history of sports. And people aren't enjoying, it's going to be disappointing because I don't think he's going to be truly appreciated until years and years after he's out. Because I do think that once LeBron's out, the NBA is going to be pretty unwatchable. I don't care how good Wembanyama is. I love Wembanyama. I do watch the NBA, but I do know this. I saw that the All-Star, the rosters and stuff, and I'm like, those are all All-Stars. I recognize all those names, but none of those names do anything for me. None of those names make me stop to say, I got to go watch that guy. LeBron's one of the final pieces that are that. Steph Curry's one of the final pieces like that carry that kind of weight. And I'm just so annoyed with both political sides right now that are just like making it to the point to where we can't truly appreciate two of the greatest athletes in their respective sports. And LeBron, I think, is an all-time great athlete because of politics, And I don't think they're wrong for speaking out on their side, by the way. I don't think LeBron is wrong for speaking out on what he believes, just like I don't think Aaron Rodgers is wrong for speaking out on what he believes. I think y'all are wrong for just saying that athlete sucks because you disagree with their political opinion. Oh, LeBron, he's a Democrat. He sucks. Michael's better. Well, why don't you use your brain and tell me why Michael's better instead of, because LeBron, he liked Obama. Oh, that's idiotic. That's stupid. And I don't respect your opinion as far as that goes, if that's your take. If you don't like an athlete because of who they vote for, that's weird to me. I can't get on board with that. All right. I'm going to stick to sports. I don't really care what their political stuff is. I'm going to judge them on who they are as an athlete, what they do. And I feel like we're slowly watching LeBron quietly retire. And I think it's unfortunate because I think that he is the last I think he's the final linchpin of keeping the NBA relevant, however relevant it is right now. And I don't think it's very relevant, to be quite honest with you. I've talked about the growing popularity in baseball, which is why I'm really concerned about that strike coming after this upcoming season. As broken as everybody says it is, attendance is through the roof, ratings through the roof, interest, engagement on social media, everything all through the roof. Baseball used to be a sport where the only time you talked about it is if there was some kind of major cheating scandal. Now we're actually talking about the superstars. We're talking about the teams. We're talking about the product on the field. It hasn't been that way in baseball in a long time. You know what I mean? Like during the steroid era, baseball was only majorly talked about when Barry Bonds, everyone thought he was on steroids. Right? Roger Clemens, Alex Rodriguez, right? And then you go to the Houston Astros. No one cared about baseball during this time, but everyone cared about the Houston Astros because of the cheating scandal, right? Like it's always, Pete Rose. It's always some kind of scandal that rocks baseball. And that was the only time people talked about it. Now baseball is getting healthy enough. That's like the NBA. No one cares about the regular season. The only time we talk about the NBA is whatever stupid idea Adam Silver is trying to come up with next to try to get these entitled brats to actually want to go out there and play. They spend more time trying to come up with loopholes in their contract not to play. It was interesting. You had Michael Jordan who worked out a clause in his contract that's like, hey, you're not going to tell me I can't play basketball out of season or away from the team. If I'm driving down the street and I see a pickup basketball game, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go play in that game, and you can't get mad at me. You can't hold the injury against me or anything. These dudes back in the day wanted to play. These guys, all they do, you wonder why there's just fans don't care. Why should I financially care? Why should I care with my time when you're doing everything you can not to play? It doesn't make any sense to me. Baseball, it's growing. Football is king. College football, as broken as it is, to see the numbers still going up there. All these sports, everyone makes excuses for the NBA. Yeah, well, people view sports differently now. And that hasn't hurt baseball. That hasn't hurt the NFL. That hasn't hurt college football. That hasn't hurt the WNBA, although they're the only ones hurting themselves at this point. So I don't want to hear it. But fans are starting to frustrate me with this. Like every time I tune in to watch a LeBron game, it's just nothing but negativity. Nothing but negativity is what it is. All right, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Didn't talk a whole lot of NFL today, but how about this? I mean, since we spoke last, Joe Burrow has been named, to the Pro Bowl games. How about that? Joe Burrow is a 3-time Pro Bowler. But I do want it to be known that Shedeur Sanders was added to the Pro Bowl games first. Just so you know. Shedeur Sanders was named. The Pro Bowl wanted Shedeur Sanders before they wanted Joe Burrow. I just wanted that to be known. Shedeur Sanders is better than Joe Burrow. I don't make the rules. I just follow. I mean, the Pro Bowl is telling you that. Obviously, I'm joking. But I think Joe Burrow's not to the Pro Bowl games is as stupid as Shedeur Sanders. Joe Burrow missed more than half the season. Joe Burrow missed the playoffs. Joe Burrow, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. But the Bengals, it's weird because the Bengals have 2 quarterbacks in the Pro Bowl. Technically, I said, look, with Joe Flacco being named to the Pro Bowl, I find it interesting because I'm like, okay, Joe Burrow, Joe Flacco, Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco. I think that the Browns and the Bengals should both get credit for the Joe Flacco Pro Bowl nod, right? Like each team gets 1.5 players in the Pro Bowl. That's kind of how I'd view it. But either way. So, yeah, we talked about this too with the Joe Flacco thing. James Rapine he made a good point earlier today that I didn't even think about. I didn't realize that the Bengals, could they franchise tag Joe Flacco? Like, could they do that? Like I saw, I think it was James Rapine. Let me go to his page. Let me see if I could pull that up because I thought it was an interesting point because the Bengals are trying to do everything they can when it comes to, they're trying to do everything that they can when it comes to being able to, got a lot of holes you have to fill. Draft picks, draft capital, and more draft capital. And he brought up a point that if the Bengals were smart, what they should do is, because there's going to be a lot of QB needy teams out there, they should franchise tag him and then turn around and trade him to get an additional draft pick. You actually might be able to get a decent draft pick for him, just considering how desperate some teams are going to be for a quarterback. It also, if you're the Bengals, it would be smart because I think that the team that makes the most sense for Joe Flacco is actually right in their division. And no, I'm not talking about round 3 for the Cleveland Browns. I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back to play or not. If he doesn't come back to play, I actually think that the team that makes the most sense for Joe Flacco is the Pittsburgh Steelers for a couple reasons. For one, it would round out his AFC North tour. So I think that would check off that box. But 2, Joe Flacco can still play. And Mike McCarthy is an offensive weapon. I mean, he's an offensive mind. His offenses are always some of the best in the league. He needs a guy that can go out there and sling it. So if they feel confident that Will Howard, Buckeye quarterback, rookie last year, was injured for most of last season, the backup to Aaron Rodgers, well, really the backup to Mason Rudolph technically, but if they're super confident in Will Howard, I'm going to be torn again because I can't pull for the Steelers, but I'm definitely going to be pulling for my guy, Will Howard. But I think if you're Mike McCarthy, you need a veteran quarterback. You have to go out there and give it your all in your first season there, because what you can't do is roll out a rookie quarterback, start losing a bunch of games. You're going to have a lot of doubt start to pile up on you very, very early in the post-Mike Tomlin era. I think that the Steelers need Joe Flacco, and they should do everything in their power to go get Joe Flacco. Another team that I think could be knocking on his door, depending on the timeline of when you could expect Patrick Mahomes to come back, is the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, Joe Flacco going to Kansas City to help get them off to a hot start offensively in the absence of Patrick Mahomes. I'm just curious to see what the absence, what the timeline for his return would look like nonetheless. But the reason I brought that up, I thought it was a good point from James Rapine, is because if you can franchise tag him, and for one, you could franchise tag him and keep him and have a very, very good backup quarterback, the likelihood of you having to use him, let's be real, Joe Burrow's your quarterback, it's pretty high. But I also think it does a couple things. For one, you could afford it. The salary cap's going up. You have 60+ million. I think you're going to have more once you move on from Trey Hendrickson and others. I think it's one of those things where you could afford to pay Joe Flacco a chunk of change to be your backup, or you tag him and then you trade him, and you make sure you trade him to a situation outside of Pittsburgh, because I think Cincinnati should be the favorites to win that division next year, assuming that they do what they're supposed to this offseason. I hope they follow the Reds' lead and realize that, hey, we have a certain reputation and everyone's doubting that we're going to do anything because we haven't done anything for years now. If they go out and have a good offseason, I think the Bengals could win that division. But Joe Flacco, as crazy as it sounds, I know he's an old veteran quarterback, but my goodness, you guys saw it firsthand, Cincinnati fans. You saw he could sling it. You know, the Ravens, who knows what to expect with them? They had a lot of deficiencies. They have a lot of holes that they have to address, and they still have Lamar. But if you want to head into next season with the Ravens being the only obstacle, that's how you do it. You keep Joe Flacco out of Pittsburgh, and I think that division is as good as Cincinnati's next year. But you put Joe Flacco in Pittsburgh, the guy could still throw it. I think he's a hell of a quarterback. And I think that in Mike McCarthy's offense, I think Joe Flacco could put up stupid numbers the way he did in Cleveland when they had weapons, and the way that he did in Cincinnati when they had weapons. I think Flacco could be dangerous in Pittsburgh as far as that goes, but nonetheless. All right, good stuff. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We do have the Wright State Coaches Show coming up at 6 o'clock. So keep that in mind. If you missed the show, don't worry. Go and search Justin Kinner wherever you get your podcast. The Justin Kinner Show will be right there. Shows in their entirety, as well as select segments and all interviews. We're going to talk college basketball tomorrow. We'll talk about Wright State's hot start in Horizon League play with, of course, Paul Frischner from the Rebound Rundown. When it rains, it pours. Got worse for Dayton. They lost to Archie Miller in Rhode Island. They've lost 4 straight. Now, they got a big one coming up against St. Bonaventure, and it's not really a big one. It's just the next one that they have to try to avoid losing their 5th straight game. So we'll talk about that. Miami, the Redhawks, how about that? They cracked the top 25 2 weeks ago. Last week, moved up a spot to number 24, and the rankings came out today, and the now 22-0 Redhawks are the number 23 team in the country. How cool is that? How cool is that? So we'll talk about all that on tomorrow's show with Paul Frischner from the Rebound Rundown. And we'll have more on your Reds with the Eugenio Suarez and the positive impact that's going to have. Do the Reds have another move left up, have up their sleeve? We'll talk about that tomorrow as well. So until tomorrow, this has been the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.